live, you are live.
Good morning, and welcome to the wilds of magnificent northeastern South Africa, here in the western fringes of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. 3.5 million hectares of great African wild. We are heading due south on Twin Dams Road. We've heard lions roaring. There were reports of that on the Djuma Dam camp, so thank you for all of those. We're going at quite a speed to the south to see if we can't find the culprits that filled the night with their roars echoing up through the drainage lines and the woodlands of Djuma Private Game Reserve here on the western fringes, like I say, of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. You are with WildEarth TV. This is Safari Live. On Andrew we have camera. On camera we have Andrew. My name is James Hendry. On the other vehicle there is no one, but on foot we have Bryan and Brent, which they may well be confused for a herd of giraffes, but later they will be walking around showing you the smaller, close-up things to do with the bush today. And in the final control, Tara and Louise. You are on a live safari, as many of you will know, and if you don't know, welcome to it. Hashtag Safari Live if you'd like to talk to us, ask us questions, and find out what we're doing. Questions at wildearth.tv if you'd like to make any comments and questions as well, if you're perhaps not tweeting just yet. Like I say, we heard lions calling just now. I think probably down near what we call Twin Dams, which is a dry sort of mud wallow at this particular stage of the season, and we're driving down there at quite a speed to see if we can't see them. Sounded like 5 males roaring. Perhaps the Birmingham boys have returned after a prolonged absence. Brent is going to go down the other side. And just exactly as Maggie is wondering what is in store for us this morning, so am I. I'm very excited. There's always an expectation about the morning. Beautiful sunrise has just come up through a cold front that's sort of blown through the place. There are birds yelling at each other all over, and there's a sense of expectation all around. It will dissipate slowly as it gets a bit hotter, but hopefully it will deliver us the beautiful sight of those lions. Right, we're now getting into the area proper where we think we heard them calling. Hopefully this side of the boundary. This is right on the southern end of where we're allowed to drive, but the the lions of course can move as they like. So what we're going to do is drive slowly from here. We'll switch off and have a listen just now, and then we're going to head a little bit further off to the western side of the reserve. Andrew, you will tell me if you see any lions, won't you?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you very much. Gorgeous, gorgeous morning. I haven't seen any tracks on the road, and Brent thought they might be a little bit further west of here, so he's going to go down that way, and maybe he's right.
Because of Massaji and one heading south, Weaver's Nest, Elephant, Carter Junction.
I'm just going to talk to Brent quickly on the radio.
I've tracks on Weaver's Nest heading towards
No tracks of the lions just yet.
40 over Ngala, the sounds around Gary Main. Twin Downs.
We're owed a visit from the lions. No tracks here yet. It's round here that I thought they were calling. There's the giraffe.
Not yet. Okay.
Sleeping. The giraffe's lying down. No, it's not lying down.
Copy that.
There you go. Beautiful giraffe.
Morning, Wildlife Station.
Sorry, the car is moving around a bit.
Morning, guys. Lion warrior around
So this is a good time to just stop and have a listen. That giraffe does not look particularly terrified by life, especially as he was lying down. So I don't think the lions were calling from right here.
Anybody calling up the most traffic this morning? And taxes control.
Now, the other thing that we will do at some stage today is head towards Buffelshoek Dam, where we had that pack of dogs last night. And if you weren't with us yesterday, we had the most epic sighting of some wild dogs that chased a Nyala cow, or ewe, into the water. And they were running around the dam until it got very dark, and eventually they just disappeared. It was just very special. I'm just sorry about the radio. It is supposed to be in my ear, but at the moment it isn't. Brent, come in. I'm at Gari Main Junction, Twin Dams. No sign here.
Copy on. We're the nearest junction. Gary Main, no sign here. I'm just going to check if there's road tracks across here.
Okay, copy that. Alright, now there's no sign of the lions here or to the west of us. And that is very interesting to me. It is sad. But I thought that they were calling on Djuma. So we'll just take a slow drive up towards the western side of this road. And while we were fast asleep in our beds, thinking about various bits and pieces, Michelle and Kevin, you've given us lots of updates that the first time the lions were heard was around 3 o'clock this morning, and then they seemed to fade and come back again, and you thought perhaps up to 4 lions calling. I definitely heard them at about 5 o'clock this morning, about 4:45, and Brent heard them now. As I started the engine when we were up there, he was still in camp. He heard them calling also around here, sort of nowish. No tracks here at the moment. Thank you to all of you for your very kind birthday messages. It is, of course, my birthday today. I'm 23 years old. What are you laughing at? Very kind of you. And would sir, you hope that I find myself a lilac-breasted roller feather? I do too. Thank you very much. Andrew, why haven't you sung for me yet?
Happy birthday to you.
Yes, carry on.
That's it, sorry, James.
Okay. Now there is Brent, I can see him. Difficult to miss is our Brent. But there are no tracks of anything in the way of large, very large cats. He has got tracks of what seems to be Tingana and Shadow, 2 leopards that we couldn't find yesterday. He's got tracks of them. I'm definitely not going to spend too much time worrying about them. They were so nasty to us yesterday, we couldn't find them anywhere. And I think what we might do is head off across towards Buffelshoek Dam and see if those dogs aren't around there. If we can't find hide nor hair of the lions. I suspect, unfortunately, that they were further south than I last heard them. So we're on the boundary here. To the south of us is where the boundary is. Chitwa or Hoffman's, and just north of us is Juma. Hello Brian.
Hello James.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Full of joy. We see Brent there. Hello Brent. Brenty, we're going to go towards Cheetah Cut Line. Right, so we'll turn around here and we'll head off towards the far east. Brent will check this particular part and we'll see what we come up with. Good luck, Brian. What? Tracks. Crossing where? Right, maybe we should do a quick sojourn down the west here. The leopard tracks are actually on the road, it might be worth doing. We don't want to get caught up, we do need to focus on one thing. One thing we noticed about old Rusty yesterday is that she does struggle to turn to the right. She's got a propensity to only turn left. Right, here we go.
She's here and he was there. They're coming on and off the road, going straight towards
Right.
100 yards.
What do you want to do? Why don't you follow these chaps?
Okay.
I'll turn around and go to Cheetah Cut Line.
They found something?
No. But I'm hoping the line tracks may have come across there.
Yeah.
There's not even a track on the road.
If I had to bet money,
Just south of it.
it's just here. Bye
Right.
everyone!
Okay, buddy, you do that, I'll go to Cheetah Cut Line. Right. Let's let Brent follow these because he's closer to the ground, being on foot. He's not closer to the ground when he's standing, of course, compared to me. But you know what I mean. Right, on we go. Rusty's also giving a slightly disturbing smell this morning. We'll forget about that. Alright, I'll see you just now.
Enjoy.
Brian? And also, apparently, lions calling on the Arathusa Dam camera, which is not too far from here, but is far to the west. Thank you for that, Diane. Let's go and check here first, and if we don't come up with anything, we'll pop across to Arathusa and see if there isn't any update there. We'll also just have a little listen when we get onto the top of the ridge crest there and see if we can't hear. Because if there are lions calling at the Arathusa Dam, what will happen is that these ones may well respond. A little reticent to turn the engine off, given that it wouldn't start this morning. So this is where the giraffe was looking particularly unpanicked. So I am watching the road very carefully to see if there are any signs of tracks. Yet, glorious sunrise going on. Sorry about the rattling, everyone. The road is a little bit uneven. Hello, how are you? Good, good. We're going to head up towards Buffelshoek Dam, just see if there isn't anything from last night. There were lions calling somewhere around here. They definitely haven't crossed this road though, so I don't know.
Probably still in Little Go somewhere.
Yeah, that's what it would seem to be.
Who's following up on those ingrowing corns?
Brent. He's there, yeah.
Do you think they've crossed?
I don't know. They're going up and down the road. Yeah.
Are we business?
We business, yeah. See you, man.
Perfect. Thank you.
Enjoy your drive. It's Craig from Cheetah Plains. And just to confirm for Diane, Dara and Larry, this new vehicle, its name is Rusty. Named I think originally by VM. VM found a bit of rust. Certainly as the days progress and the cosmetic paint job starts to reveal itself. Tracks of the wild dogs going to the north. Just listening. Okay, nothing of great importance at this stage. And you wanted to know what that bar is across the front there. It is it's the jack. It's part of a large high lift jack. A little distracting. We should perhaps paint it black. Jack, of course, is a very important part of our equipment. Yesterday, we're starting to find a couple of little foibles with old Rusty the car. Yesterday I managed to put a gallon of oil into her. A gallon, that's 5 litres, into the engine. She still seemed thirsty thereafter. And Renos says, you want to know how much did I put in this morning? I didn't put any in this morning, and that is simply because there isn't any left. It all went into Rusty yesterday. I didn't even check. I thought if there isn't enough, well, then we'll be in trouble.
Brent, coming, Brent. I'll be
There is an unanswerable question coming through about roads, and one that I don't understand, but I'm pretty sure that one of you clever people will know. Jan, you want to know from Philadelphia what causes that washboarding on the roads? So those ridges, those regular ridges. I'm going to say that what it is that it's a resonance caused by the shock absorbers on vehicles, and the reason it all happens at the same time is that once it starts, all other shock absorbers coming along the same road and often at speed will create the same resonance with their shock absorbers, and that creates that kind of washboarding, the bumping along the place. So, but if somebody else has got a better answer, I'd really actually be fascinated to know what it causes. What causes it? There you go, Andrew. How do you like our aerial design?
Sturdy.
Robust. And I did cast aspersions on poor old Brent last night. I mentioned that the aerial on Wendy had snapped off, and I had great visions of Brent charging through the bush at 100 miles an hour as he followed up on the wild dogs, hitting a tree and cutting the aerial off halfway. Ooh, apparently there are lions roaring somewhere around the Djuma Dam as well at the moment. I'm just going to get hold of Brent. Brent, did you copy that? Brent, you copy?
Anyway,
switch off there. Brent, apparently more lion audio from the Djuma Dam cam. Did you hear anything there? Switch off and listen.
Negative, sorry, I was mobile, but I'll start heading towards that area. Update on those Ingwe, they have crossed south. About
the leopard has gone south.
250 meters to the west of Weaver's Nest junction with Gary May.
Okay, copy, thanks. Are you going to do Philomon's cut line?
Firm, I'm at Treehouse now. I'll do Philomon's cut line down towards the
Thank you very much for that update. We will definitely follow up. I'm going to continue up here and then turn back towards the west. Oh dear. Oh, this is not good.
You get it all the way to...
Come on, Rusty. Come on, old girl.
Come, Rusty.
Come on, Rusty.
You gotta go, Rusty. Come on.
To the south down.
Sorry about this. We will try and fire up this car properly. This is not, of course, the most entertaining live television in the world, but let's see if we can't make something out of it.
Too much oil, Jamesy.
No, I don't think it's got anything to do with the oil, you cretin. To be brutally honest, I feel that Rusty is a lemon. Rusty, apart from the very fine cosmetic paint job she has, alright, I'm going to let things calm down here a bit. I'm going to find some interesting piece of biology to show you. We will try and get Brent up and running so that you can be entertained rather by him than me trying to start the car. What can we see? Stand by. Right, well, there's some dung here, interesting dung, and this is actually quite interesting. I'll bring it over. It's also not a bad thing that we're able to stop and listen just to check and see if lions don't call again. This is zebra dung. Not warm, still moist though. I think given the fact that Rusty is clearly so incompetent, I'm not going to worry about putting fresh dung on her dashboard. That is fresh zebra dung, and what is interesting to note about it is the difference between it and a ruminant's dung. Now, I've got some ruminant dung here. Stand by. So a zebra is what we call a hindgut fermenter. It does not re-chew its food like this ruminant does here. This is a piece of old buffalo dung. And, you know, if you're a connoisseur of fine dung, you'll be able to notice a big difference here. Turn it to the sun slightly so that you can see. The buffalo dung on the right hand side is much more finely chewed than the zebra dung to the left, and that is because it's been chewed twice and it's much denser. This is just like horse dung. Bits and pieces you'll find. I'm not going to fossil through it with my fingers because it's a little bit wet, which is a bit foul for one's birthday, but definitely larger pieces than you'll find in this buffalo dung here. Isn't that fascinating, Andrew?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Right, shall we see if Rusty will start? Come on, baby. Yes, yes, come on. There you go. Yes, yes. Enough of that. Okay, we're off. Whew. Sorry about that, everyone. What can one do? Right, we're on our way. We'll forget about that little hiccup, should we say? Head towards the Buffelshoek Dam and see what we can come up with. Unfortunately, Aubrey has found the wild dog tracks, but they are heading north into Buffelshoek. That's not to say they won't come back. So yesterday evening, the reason we're heading towards the Buffelshoek Dam was we had that incredible sighting of wild dogs. 3 adults and 11 pups of just over 3 months old now were knocking about. The first time I've seen the pups actually on the hunt as opposed to waiting for the adults. And they chased a nyala into the water. There is some buffalo. There are some buffalo, sorry. All in English. And you say when?
When?
We are going to turn the car off, I'm afraid. And the nyala then went into the water, and it spent an extended period of about an hour and a half, 2 hours actually at the end of it, in the water, sort of watching carefully for 3 hippo that looked like they might attack it, and then the dogs ran around and around waiting for the nyala to come out. Came out once, and the dogs chased it again, and it was just about pitch black dark. Nyala turned around, ran back into the water, and eventually the dogs moved off. And as far as we know, we know that the nyala then came out of the water. It was so dark, and we didn't want to put a light on it. So dark. Nyala came out of the water and was not eaten last night. Whether, what else happened after that, we're not sure. So Blair in Ontario, nyala came out the water, wasn't eaten while we were there. These buffalo, of course, had absolutely nothing to do with that particular situation. They are sitting relieved to have made it through the night. They're probably not in the slightest bit upset that the lions are not particularly close to this area, and they are quietly chewing the cud after their early morning graze. And of course, buffalo bulls live beyond breeding age. Very few animals do that, and I think that the reason that buffalo bulls do is that they draw attention away from the herds, and they draw by predators. So those 5 big male lions from the Birmingham boys, were they to come across these buffalo bulls, they may well, take one and eat it. The buffalo bulls are still I've lost the word. They're a formidable enemy for any lion, and even those 5 males will struggle to take down one of these old boys. But I think it does draw attention away from the calves and cows in the herd, which play a much more important role, of course, in furthering the species. And there is, cleverly spotted by Andrew, is a starling, a greater blue-eared glossy starling, eating some termites from the termite mound. They're a beautiful bird and so lovely in the light. Beautiful iridescent green, purple, blue. Lovely. Right, well, Andrew, I think we should probably try and fire up the engine again, don't you? There we go. Oh dear. No, 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 no. It did start, but it's given up again, I'm afraid. I don't think we're going to turn it off again.
Should we call it risky instead of rusty?
Risky, yes.
Risky.
Or rubbish. Maybe we should just call him rubbish.
It rolls off the tongue.
It does roll off the tongue. Okay, right. Thank you. Thankfully, Brent seems to be up and running, or walking, certainly. Let's head across to him. I'm going to take to this car with a crowbar, and I'll see you just now.
There we go. I think you should be able to hear me now. Sorry about that. And so normally we would be walking, but what we do in this first little bit, especially if there's lions calling and lion tracks around, is we'll try to get into an area of that. So those other lions are south, the leopard tracks have crossed out of our area, and we just heard a report of lion calling around the Juma Dam, so we've moved to this area. But oh my goodness gracious me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 giraffe. Isn't this wonderful? Let's just move forward. There's some wonderful interaction going on there. These young males courting. I think they're lucky there's no big male around. I think they're a bit too young to be courting females if there was a big male around. So, oh, having a little bit of a gallop, a play, a silly 5 minutes. So Brian is doing an outstanding job here, being a human tripod from the vehicle. Now there's a bull on the left who is old enough to be courting the ladies. But actually you see that little one doesn't like the male courting, which is probably its mother. Oh no, there's another, just some galloping giraffe. And when they're defending themselves against lions, they use those front feet in a very similar fashion, obviously kicking them out quite a lot forward. Oh, fun and games this morning. Full of the joy of life, these giraffes. And it's so nice to have a nice big group of giraffe that we're seeing so regularly around quarantine. Those two on the far right seems like they've spotted something on the other side of the clearing. Oh, he's more interested in the females, obviously not a predator. Now, giraffe mating is a very, very short process, over in a matter of seconds. And you probably find it's developed like that to help save the female from having to carry the huge weight of the male on her back for an extended period. It's literally on and off. There we go. I can see what those giraffe were looking at now. There's some wildebeests to the right of them. Here we go. Wildly beasts. Just gonna reverse. Oh, wait, here comes the herd. Such funny looking antelope wildebeest. You can see them stopping and rubbing their pre-orbital glands against that tree. A form of scent marking. Right, there are those lions calling again to the south, well south of our boundary. Those, I think, were different from the audio we heard earlier. Oh, looks like the wildebeest are about to have a silly 5 minutes. Very short little gallop there. Well, those two young male giraffe are going to have a bit of a play fight, practice fight thing there. It's very not serious. But there we go. You can see in very slow motion how they would fight. There we go. But obviously now speed that up and add great force to it. And that's what a giraffe fight looks like. Very, very slow motion, this one. And no real menace to it, more just playing between the two young males. And you can imagine with that long neck, they can actually build up quite a head of speed, and when they do hit each other you can hear it from sometimes up to 1 kilometer away. She's reaching for, looking for some leaves of that marula tree. And I think she's eaten all the low ones. What a peaceful scene here on the quarantine clearings. As we look at those two young boys at the back there, not really serious and not really hitting each other too hard, but Boyd in North Carolina was wondering what a giraffe's horns used for. They are used for fighting. Oh, look at this female, she's going to try use that long tongue to try grab those. There we go. You've finished everything else, madam. There's not much there left. So, Boyd, they are used for fighting in the males. They're used as battering rams to, with that long neck, swing at sort of high speeds. And they have been known to actually kill each other while they've been fighting and do some serious damage. It's an incredibly strong animal. Oh, there we go, reaching again. It's just too far. Oh. We've got the dawn chorus going, crested francolins, Cape turtle doves, black-headed oriole, emerald spotted wood dove, and there's two young boys again, still play sparring. Almost looks like they're dancing when giraffe fight. Probably snorting distance. Just gonna have a sit up and see whether they're just snorting for snorting's sake or they've actually spotted something. Looks like they're just snorting for snorting's sake. This females come very close to us. Two young boys stepping it up a little bit. Obviously it is play or practice at the moment, but it will develop into quite a violent affair as they get older. Look how they're trying to trip each other. And as we watch these two youngsters spar, GJ in Southern California is wondering, do they ever break their necks when they are fighting seriously? That they do. It is uncommon, but it has been recorded before. As we watch these two boys play sparring, and you can notice that their horns are starting to develop. Ooh! Sorry, we can't, it's behind the vehicle, but there's some running. There's an amorous male chasing a female. Let's move and go see what they're up to. But while we're doing that, Thelma from West Dam in Michigan was asking, do females fight like males? No, they don't, Thelma. They don't have to compete for mating. Oh, it looks like we might get some bigger male on male action. So there's two males now showing interest in the same female. Just going to get us into the right spot. That was a very civilized takeover there. One just walked in between and the other walked away. So this male who is standing next to the female now, just sort of when that running started with the other male, which is, he's just off to the left, he just walked in between the two and saw off the competition. Oh, there we go, we can see he's just walking him off. Right, I think there's, oh, he's having a scratch. I think there's probably a female who's about to come into estrus, just judging from all the movement and behavior around. There you go, he's seeing off the competition. Oh, he's saying hello to the little one. So when giraffes are active like this, which doesn't happen that often, they are a very fascinating creature to watch. Yeah, that beautiful chortle of a black-headed oriole. There we go. There's a giraffe snort, not something you hear too often. Oh, here we go again. One male moving in. Let's see what the other does. I can see him coming in from behind. Is he going to see off the would-be suitor? Yes, he is. In a very non-violent way. But if the would-be suitor didn't move away, you could find a little bit of more aggression. Oh, and another male that's just arrived behind me on the scene, but he's a bit younger than these two. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. 35 minutes, baby giraffe at full gallop. Just for fun. Beautiful, cool morning. All the animals seem to be in good spirits. Well, particularly that young giraffe. We've got two juvenile males there, sub-adults. Well, as we often see giraffe when they're just eating or ruminating. We don't. Oh, off again. No, not quite. And Claire from the Big Apple saying, "Isn't it wonderful?" And she didn't realize how flexible their necks are and what such a wide range of movement they have. It is incredible, an animal like that size with that very strange shape. And here comes another young male. Are capable of such an array of movement. Let's see if he gallops back to mom. Is it a he or a she? I can't really see yet, it's a bit young. Maybe my binoculars. It could be a she, and I need to wait for it to turn side on. Yeah, it's a she. Yeah. And those young boys on the spar again. So different young males arrived and started up with the sparring. Well, let's see, we've got 3 giraffe. There, the youngster is 4, 5, 6, 7. I know yesterday in the middle of the day I counted 13 giraffe on quarantine clearings, which is by far the biggest group I've ever seen at Djuma. And these are part of that group. I think we had 8 so far this morning. There could be a few more around. I'm just going to try to roll forward so those giraffe aren't behind the bush. Yeah. And we can see that young males at the tops of the horns are already losing their hair, and that is from these games that they're playing at the moment. Hope you guys are getting some great screenshots. And that clicking is just me grabbing my camera, getting my version of a screen grab. And don't forget to post those on our WildEarth Facebook page, and or just use the hashtag Safari Live if you're on Twitter. Ooh, you can also see not only do they go for each other's necks, they go for each other's legs. Obviously, it's probably a lot easier to break a leg than a neck on a giraffe. But again, this isn't very serious. And you can see how they widen their stance to become more teenagers. Just testing each other out. Practice for the big leagues in a few years. So with evolution, there's almost all evolutionary advancements are to do with two things. One is competition for food, and the other is mating. And for a long time, people have considered giraffes' long neck as a food competition thing. But there's quite a lot of new interesting research that is sort of disproving it. Obviously, it is an aid, but basically giraffes' necks have become longer and longer for sexual competition and for fighting. So the giraffe with a longer neck is able to draw more sort of momentum from the swing, and therefore hit harder than a giraffe with a shorter neck. So there's quite a big school of thought who's now thinking that the giraffe's long neck is far more for sexual competition than it is for food competition. It is beautiful. It is almost like a dance, a ballet. These guys keep getting their heads stuck in that terminalia. So very serious fights will only really happen when a female's in full estrus and there's two big males, adult males around, and they can last up to an hour and 2 hours even, but normally they're over in about half an hour, 45 minutes, and the victor will take his mating rights and the loser will just move off as the vanquished. See how they go for the knees, or what would be a giraffe knee. Oh, good one. Got in there, in between the legs, in the rib cage. And they're not hitting very hard. And we can see how flexible they are and how much movement they have. And Clay is wondering, would they band together to fight off a lion? I have seen it before, and especially if there's a young individual like the one that's here, which is sort of one of a lion's favorite foods, a bite-sized giraffe. They would band together and they would try to chase the lions away from that youngster. But like with buffalo, it doesn't happen every time. Sometimes they'll just run away. We're just going to move. Oh wait, no, they're moving back out the side. Trying to make sure they're not hiding behind the tree all the time. I think if we go forward a bit, we should get a better view. And hear the rusty bed springs of a Cokie Franklin calling somewhere in these little terminalias. So we've got a name we haven't heard before, so a very big welcome to Tasmanian Devil. I wonder if you live in Australia by chance. So welcome to Safari Live, and Tasmanian Devil is wondering, or could I just call you Taz for short, like the cartoon? Is wondering how we tell the gender difference in giraffe. Well, here we have two young males. If we look at their horns, or ossicones, which is the correct word for a giraffe's horns, the males do not, even at this young age, do not have hair on top of their horns. The horns are far more robustly built than the females, and that is for fighting. The females have a full sort of hair covering them, a full set of hair covering them, and are much, much more delicately built. Unfortunately, there are no females in sight at the moment, just these two young males. The females have moved off. Coming down from that height and spreading your legs to have a drink of water, all that blood rushing down from a height into their brain would cause them to pass out. So I'm guessing that valve also plays quite an important role when they're fighting, to stop blood rushing to the head when it gets lower. So, while we watch these two little guys, oh, there's a little bit of dominance ploy. You find that quite often in male animals in the bush. They will try and mount each other for dominance. But Anna Marie says she's watched some videos of giraffe fights that become very, very tangled, very, very brutal. And she's wondering, do their necks ever become tangled? Anna Marie, they don't. Oh, there we go, there's that little dominance ploy. I've never ever heard of a giraffe's neck becoming tangled. Broken, yes. Broken legs, yes. Broken ribs, but never tangled. So, out here we've got lots of different animals, and Marie Ann's wondering, do giraffe ever chase vehicles like elephants? Well, Marie Ann, if you drive properly around elephants, they shouldn't chase you. And since I've been at Djuma, how many months now? 8 months? 7 months? With WildEarth, I've never been chased by an elephant or a giraffe, but yes, elephants do occasionally chase vehicles. But giraffe do not. And they would much rather move away than chase the vehicle. Oh. Looks like the sparring's slowing down a bit. And with teenagers like this, this sort of half serious, half play can go on for quite a long time. I think they're going to realize they've been left behind by the rest of the giraffe quite shortly, and then they'll probably just move off to join them. And this is quite a power play going on between these two. Each one keeps walking around to try and mount the other. Oh, I think they've just realized. Where's everyone? Oh no, but I can't lose. My turn. Oh no, you don't. I'm too fast for you. So at the moment the giraffe on the right seems to have a deformed ossicone or horn or bent, and well done to Rick and Susie and quite a few others for noticing that. And that's probably a defect from birth, having a look at it through the binos. And you do see that sometimes with a lot of animals out here. I don't think it's going to negatively affect him at the moment. It might. Oh, there we go, a full mount. Serious dominance going on there. So quite interesting, that ossicone, having a look. That looks definitely like a birth defect. I don't think that's happened afterwards. Round and round the garden. Getting dizzy watching these guys. Well, while one walks forward, one walks backwards. According to Jennifer in Toronto, it looks like a Texas two-step. I'm afraid, Jennifer, I have no idea what a Texas two-step is. Speaking of people from Canada, a little bit earlier on the Sunrise Safari, we met Judy, who's a regular viewer of ours who's staying at Arathusa at the moment. So we said a quick hello to her, and I'm sure some of you guys out there might know her. So we have quite a varied set of pregnancies out here in the bush, the elephant being the longest at 22, 23 months. And generally the bigger the animal, the longer the pregnancy outside of the primate world. Animals like us, for our size, have a very long pregnancy, and so do a lot of the primates, and that's to let the brain develop. So we've got far more cognitive function than most animals. But Charlotte from Denmark, who's also a new viewer, or new to asking questions at least, so welcome Charlotte, and please keep sending in questions, is wondering how long a giraffe's pregnancy is. And it is one of the longer ones. And what I'm going to do, oh, just hang on a second. Sorry, I thought I saw something behind those giraffe. Charlotte, I will get back to your question in a second. And when young males are doing stuff like this, if there are lions in the area, they can be quite vulnerable because they're not focusing on checking for predators. What was that? I just saw a very tawny shape move behind the giraffe on the other side of that little drainage line. I mean, most likely it's going to be something like a kudu or an impala, but it's definitely worth checking carefully. Did you see it, Brian? I mean, if it was a lion, there would definitely have to be, if it was a lioness, there definitely have to be more than one to take on a giraffe. Even a small giraffe like this would definitely have to be a pride. Although I have seen 2 males take on a huge male giraffe by themselves and succeed. They can actually break a lion's jaw, break a lion's leg. And it is quite a high risk animal for lions to hunt. And you do get prides that specialize in it. Actually, I think I can see that now, and it is a false alarm. It looks like a kudu that's just moved through. I can't just pass through very briefly, but it's disappeared. But they kick very quickly, and we're gonna just finish on Charlotte's question, which I got sidetracked from, which was the gestation period of a giraffe. As I said, it's one of the long ones. It's over a year. It's 400 to 460 days. So a very long gestation. And speaking of baby giraffe, let's see what James has got.
It's leading north, approaching Pipeline Junction.
Hello everyone, you've been having a marvellous time with Brent, and apparently what has been described by Tara Dales as the greatest giraffe sighting in the history of giraffe sightings. We've come to a little spot here, not too far from where Brent is, but there are 2 tiny giraffe here. That one there that you're looking at is about 3 months old, I think, and they seem to be without any form of adult supervision. We're just going to carry on around the corner here and have a quick look at them, and we'll take you back to Brent if anything further develops there. Having a wonderful time around there, so maybe the adults are around the corner here. And they were frolicking around here on the clearing when we got here. But why their parents are not around, I'm not sure. Is that another one, Andrew? No, I think it's just a tree. Cantering off. There is another one behind it. Oh, there we go. There's Mother. There we go. this little one having a little leap up and down, and it's so wonderful to watch them run. And Gilly in Wisconsin, you were just saying exactly the same thing, that it's amazing to watch them run. It does look like they're running in slow motion. They have huge feet, Gilly. You wanted to know how big they are. If you were to look at that little ones there, he's probably got a sort of size, human size 10. The others, the big bulls would have feet roughly the size, I suppose, of a standard issue soup bowl. That's probably about the size. I'll show you with my hands when we come back out from this little chap. Probably about that long. That's what the tracks look like on the ground. So pretty good length, and they do look like they're running in slow motion, but they aren't. I mean, they run very quickly. Let's keep in on the little one there. He's frolicking about. It's quite chilly today. There's an unusual kind of coldness about, and I'm sure that's why this little one is running around more than it would normally, and also why you had that amazing sighting with Brent of the giraffe knocking about the place and sort of play fighting and running around. He's caught by some pretty gorgeous light at the moment. Now these are the two that we see them last night. They might be the same ones that we saw yesterday. No, they're not. What is interesting here,
I've been down for about 35 minutes.
year long, do frolicking about. I think that's just kind of play behaviour thrown in with a little bit of frustration. What it was doing was chasing a red-billed oxpecker. So, Liz, you want to know about seasonality in giraffe breeding? Do they breed during a specific season? They are not particularly seasonal breeders. You'll find that there's a peak around the wet season, so sort of November, December, January, but as you can see, this one was born in the heart of the winter time and has done very well. I'd say that's unusual, but yeah, they're not seasonal breeders particularly like, say, impala. If you just sneak a little bit forward and see if you can't see the other one. Now, what we were watching just now, of course, was a little bit of a demonstration of the defensive mechanisms that giraffe employ. So that little one that was stamping its feet up and down like that, that's how they defend themselves against predators. Giraffe will lift their rear up onto their back legs and stamp down with their front legs. They can kick with their back legs as well. And I've seen tremendous footage of lions being fairly severely injured by giraffes' front feet. And Liz, I think is it Liz? Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. But a question coming out of Los Gatos, California. Sounds like a fun place to be. Do they bite each other in defense as well? That's Charlene. Charlene, not as far as I know. There's not a great deal of biting. They might do a little bit of allo grooming, and that means that they would groom each other, so they'll sort of pick ticks off each other or give each other a scratch every so often. And there are lots of animals that do that to confirm social bonding. But in terms of biting each other, no, not really. They don't have a particularly strong set of teeth for biting. The only herbivores that really use their teeth as a particularly effective and vicious form of defense would be zebra, that I know of. They do a lot of biting. One just in front of us there, peeping out from the trees.
that there is other two trucks going to the south, just to take them to truck and going to carry some
But that one having a grazing giraffe, that's extremely bizarre. Oh look, picking up a bone. Wow, look at that. Picking up a bone. That is not uncommon, everybody, but you read about it, you seldom see it. They're picking up a bone and sucking it for phosphorus. That's apparently why they do it. They need a lot of phosphorus. I'm not sure why they're deficient in phosphorus. That's why they pick up bones and they often suck them. And you often watch giraffe, they wander about the place, they don't seem to, then they move off in one direction and they seem to be communicating, but we often don't know how. And Bree and Claire, question about how they communicate, do they make a noise? Bree, Terry and Claire, Tree, Terry and Claire, question about whether they communicate. Terry and Claire, perhaps. Sorry, I'm just missing this, missing the name here. Anyway, you want to know about how they eat. Not how they eat, how they communicate. I've totally got myself in total fluster here. You heard them grunting earlier. Now, for a long time, we thought giraffe were completely silent. That is becoming less and less the case as we study their behavior. You've heard them grunting. I have heard a cow giraffe making a bellowing noise at a leopard that was trying to eat her young baby that had died of natural causes, and as that leopard came up to try and sort of make off with the young calf, she made a horrible bellowing noise. We also think that they communicate infrasonically. Now, that might sound slightly more mysterious than it actually is. Elephants do it. They are able to communicate in a frequency that is just we can't hear. So their voice boxes will make various sounds that are too low for our ears to pick up. So we think that that's how that's the kind of sound that giraffe make. They also will snort in alarm sometimes. That little one on the left-hand side of your screen has the most wonderful coloration I think I've ever seen on a giraffe. You may also have noticed the one that picked up the bone has lost its tail. Now that could have been to hyenas, it could have been to lions, it could also, and most likely, have been to ticks. Ticks often eat away the top of the tail, and if the giraffe isn't particularly careful, it can become infected and the tail will then come off eventually. It must be extremely painful, I imagine. And it does come off. But certainly it's possible that it was a predator, and while it was running away, the lion, possibly a lion, got hold of the tail and it kind of snapped off. It will not grow back. It is not like a lizard. Very strange atmosphere today, kind of a breezy, cool air. And these giraffes are so inquisitive. I'm sure you saw that with Brent. I'm not sure if he was on foot or if he was in his vehicle, but those giraffes, once they get interested in something, it's wonderful to see them kind of walking around and coming closer and looking and investigating and almost enjoying a sighting of people. And if you're on foot, that is especially the case. If you're on foot ever in Africa, if you ever find yourself out here and you're on foot and you find some giraffe, it's well worth actually spending an hour or two just sitting in front of them, or even lying down on the ground in front of them. They'll come right up to you to have a look. I've had a giraffe investigating me from about maybe 1.5 meters. I was lying on the ground watching it, and it came up to within 1.5 meters, put its head down to try and kind of sniff me and see what I was doing. And that little thing is just fascinated by us. I'm always amazed at the stockiness of the shoulders and the legs. And that, of course, is crucial. That giraffe has to get up and run as a youngster. It must be born, and within half an hour it must be steady on its feet and able to run. Otherwise it will become a meal extremely quickly. Just to people often ask how you age animals and how you age giraffe, and certainly when these giraffes are born, it takes about a week for those horns of theirs to stand up. They're born flat on the head, looks totally ridiculous, and then after a few days they start to stand up, and within a week they are standing up, and after a few weeks they're fused onto the skull, and you don't ever see a kind of gap between them again. And then the other good way, Anna-Marie, to age a giraffe calf is by that little piece of umbilical cord which lasts until it's 3 months old. So if you know that, if you can see the umbilical cord, you know that the giraffe is probably not yet quite 3 months. It might last a little bit longer in some and a little bit shorter in others. And you can also see, which we were chatting about, there's ossicones or horns, and they stick up when they're a few days old and they fuse to the skull. And of course the difference between the males and the females is that the males start to go bald, a bit like some of us. Andrew and I, or me more so than Andrew of course, and while we don't have ossicones, a bull giraffe has these bald horns. And Georgiana in Illinois, you want to know when it is that those horns start to go bald. It's pretty much when they start fighting. So they'll start necking each other, or and giraffe necking is entirely different from human necking. They'll start bashing each other like you was watching with Brent, as soon as they get into kind of sub-adulthood. And so once that starts, it'll wear away the hair on top of the horns. And so I would say probably at about maybe 4 or 5 years they'll start to go bald. Right, let's go across to Brent. He's on foot, different angle, more intimacy on foot in the bush, and so he will show you a few things at the old hyena den. I'll continue from here.
Hey everyone, have a look at where I'm sitting. Hyena den here, and oh, I think I know why you can't hear me. Okay, can you hear me now? And we're right here with one of the old hyena dens, and it has been used before the last one, and so I think the new hyena den is within about 200 meters of here. So we've decided on this morning's walking safari to try find the new hyena den. I know how excited a lot of you guys get when we do find the dens and we get to see those awesome little guys around the den site and that incredible interaction. So we're going to walk around hopefully, and one of the main reasons I know this den's not active is that I'm not covered in fleas. So if this den was active and I walked up to it, I would literally see all the fleas on my legs. But it is incredible to get close enough to have a look into these holes. And unfortunately I forgot my torch, so we can't show you inside. Well, that is a really, really nice little update. While we're looking for the hyena den, we've got an update from Chris Rogue, who says there's a hyena at the Djuma Dam camp right now. But we're going to send you off back to Commander Bond. But before we do that, it's quite an important day at WildEarth today. One of our team members is having a birthday, so sing along with us. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Commander Bond, happy birthday to you. Hey! Hey! Hurrah! No more, bye.
I think it's a great pity that Bryan didn't sing more loudly there. Brent, by his own admission, is completely tone deaf. There are very few people in the world that are tone deaf. Brent is one of them, unfortunately. But the sentiment is much appreciated from both of them. Lovely to have a song live. Disconcerting at a hyena den, perhaps. But much appreciated. Thank you. On the occasion of my 23rd birthday. We are now heading south towards Impala Plains. You did hear there was reports of lions calling earlier from the Djuma Dam. We haven't found the track of a lion yet on Djuma. The Nkuhuma Pride, good news everyone, is on Torchwood, and all 5 lionesses, don't know where Junior's gone, but they're okay. Talamati Pride's gone north of Manyaleti. We don't know where the Salala Pride is. So we are just going to look around here, because if you could hear the lions from the Djuma camera, it's just unlikely that they would be so far away that they wouldn't be on the property. So we'll look around for further tracks. Maybe that microphone's better than I think it is. And if we don't find any tracks fairly soon, we'll just pop across to Arathusa and see if there's anything going on there. Obviously, we had the lions calling close to the Arathusa Dam. I'm pretty sure those guys would have found the lions there. Let's say a very chilly breeze blowing through, unseasonably so. Thank you. I believe that the well-wishers continue to wish me a happy birthday on the Twitter sphere. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Makes me feel like a celebrity. And Janet would like all the animals to come out and greet me in force. Janet, I share that sentiment profoundly. I hope that they eventually do come out and greet me in force. Likewise, thank you for your advice in dealing with our car, our new car called Rusty. Andrew and I threw about the name Zibi. Maybe we should call Rusty Zibi. Zibi is the Zulu word for rubbish. At the moment we'll leave it with Rusty. It seems to be behaving okay. So lions on a day like today, because it's quite cold, will look for the sun, and so it's quite nice to just check around all the clearings and see if there isn't some sign of them, especially given that they were heard from the Djuma Dam camera. And those dogs, you'll be pleased to know, well, you probably won't be pleased to know, I wasn't pleased to know, but they have been found, just not on Djuma. They were just north of our boundary, and they've just been found there now. History doesn't relate what happened to the Nyala cow from last night. We did check at Buffelshoek Dam, didn't see any sign of her. Sorry about that, Andrew, big hole. ZB's suspension is quite hard. Chatting earlier about the corrugations on the roads or washboard effect that seems to occur on gravel or dirt roads, and I wasn't too sure how it happens, but Gillian, Wisconsin, confirms that I am correct. The faster you go, the faster it happens, and it does happen. It's once that initial kind of corrugation is formed, all of the resonance from the different shock absorbers on different cars, they'll start to resonate at the same kind of bounce, and that will worsen the problem, and so you do need to grade every so often. It doesn't happen so much on these little roads that we drive around on, because we don't drive very quickly on them, but on the main access roads like that southern boundary or on the western boundary, there is often a bit of corrugation.
Jumping off the crossing permission marker towards Florida. How much deep? Looking for much.
We're driving along here looking for any signs of lions. And for those of you who joined us earlier, you would have noticed that I had to do a fairly static segment where little ZB wouldn't start, or Rusty wouldn't start, and we had a look at some buffalo dung and some zebra dung, and the zebra was a little bit coarser than the buffalo. And Ravi in New York City, you want to know, does that mean that one is more efficient than the other? Ravi, it does. The buffalo is a more efficient digestive system. Rumination is a kind of more modern way of eating food and digesting and extracting as much nutrition as possible from difficult plants. You know, the lignin and cellulose, which are the structural material in plants, are very difficult to digest. But the ruminant is more efficient at doing that than is a zebra. But a zebra has no limit to the amount it can eat. So the thing is with a ruminant is that the front stomach or rumen will eventually fill up to the extent that they have to stop eating, sit down, reach through the food, and then swallow it again. Now that's a very efficient system as long as the radio is now starting to drive me insane. Leopard track. That's an old one. So once the quality of food drops below a certain level, a ruminant will start to lose condition, because they must stop eating at a certain stage, regurgitate and rechew. But with a hindgut fermenter like a zebra, while they're not as efficient when the food's good, when the food gets bad, they just process more. They can just process more and more and more and more and more food. So it's a bit of a kind of, I mean, there are pros and cons to both. But that's why the zebra has got slightly coarser food. Coarser dung, sorry. Thank you, Ravi. Insightful question. That is a steenbok. Very un-steenbok-like. It's called a steenbok because it's supposed to stand like a stone. That one was running like a Ferrari. What a terrible, terrible simile. On we go. Thank you very much, Patty, who has suggested that you get a Kickstarter together for me so that I can take my game drives in an Aston Martin DB10 like my hero, James Bond. Thank you, Carter, for my new Aston Martin DB10. That would be marvellous. Thank you very much. Never seen a James Bond quite as bald as me, but I mean, there's always a time. He's eventually going to get old, isn't he? Do not find lion tracks here. And you'll get to go across to Arathusa, I think. And I believe there's a little bit of a few of you joking about the fact that I said I was 23 years old. I don't think that's very kind at all. 23 is not that old. Is it, Andrew?
Spring chicken.
Spring chicken. Go. Strong wind coming out of the south now. Really quite unusually strong and chilly for this time of year. Nice elephant tracks on the road. We will be lucky to find them. I thought I saw Now, one of my favourite parts of the summertime is the arrival of the cuckoos. And the cuckoos, we have lots of them here. We have striped cuckoos, red-chested cuckoos, African cuckoos, Diederik's cuckoos, Klaas's cuckoos, sometimes emerald cuckoos, and I'm leaving one out, Levalliant's cuckoos. Lots of different kinds of cuckoos. Now, Merrick, you've asked about starlings and whether starlings go into other birds' nests, toss out the eggs, lay their eggs there, and then have nothing to do with raising the chicks. That's cuckoos. Starlings don't do that. Starlings are parasitized by some of the cuckoos, but it's the cuckoos that are the main brood parasites, is what we call them, and it's a fascinating subject, is brood parasitism in birds. It's the cuckoos that do it. We've also got something called a widow finch, which is a little black finch-like bird that does it. They parasitize waxbills and other small finch-like birds. And then another bird called a cuckoo finch, which is the brood parasite, and some of the widers are brood parasites as well. So, fascinating subject. And what a brood parasite does, you've got one of two strategies. Either the adult will go in and toss out the host's eggs and lay the eggs in the host nest, or when the babies are born, they will kick out any unhatched eggs or kill the chicks of the host parents. All done entirely instinctually. They never learn this from anyone. They never actually meet their parents. So, I mean, you know how, I'm sure many of you have seen how some birds like swans and various others, geese, will impress on the first thing that they see. So, for example, there's a wonderful film, the name escapes me, about the Canada geese and the fact that the person that was trying to make them migrate to where, I think it was Canada geese, trying to make them migrate to where they had to go dressed in a suit that made him look like a goose, so that they didn't impress on a human being, because they will impress on a human being, and by impress I mean they'll only follow that thing and they'll see themselves as one of whatever they're impressed on. Now cuckoos, it doesn't seem to be the case. They don't have that impressing. Now, so that was the cuckoo discussion. Now Lisa, you wanted to see a lapwing nest. I've seen this Senegal lapwing that we're looking at now in this area 3 or 4 times, and I suspect that it does have a nest around here. A lapwing's nest, despite the fact that it is no more than a couple of eggs laid on the dirt, is notoriously difficult to find because the eggs are so beautifully camouflaged to blend in with whatever vegetation there is around the place. So that's a Senegal lapwing, one of the rarer lapwings that we get here. You see its nest anywhere, Andrew?
Negative.
I've seen it sitting around here a few times, so we'll keep an eye on him and see whether he or she doesn't suddenly sit down. Walking very slowly, thinks it's being very stealthy. Just keep watching for a second. I just don't want to start the car. Sorry everyone if you're getting aerial in your picture. Good job, Andrew. It'd be quite something if we managed to find Lisa lapwing's nest on demand. Andrew's basically turned himself round like an owl's head. Yeah, that's it. That's the limit of it, I'm afraid. Right. Good job. Okay, I can't see any lion tracks here. I'm confounded as to how you managed to hear lions from the Juma Dam without us having seen any tracks. So let's pop across to Arathusa if we can't see if we can't hear something there. I suspect those microphones at the dam are better than I think they are. Right, we'll pop across to Arathusa and get a bit of an update. Brent is on foot, as you know. He has an interesting view to show you. I'll see you just now.
So you can see there's a depression in this little riverbed there, and not so long ago when we were tracking Karula in this block, we actually found a hyena sleeping, escaping from the heat in that little cave. So we're still in this area looking for the hyena den, and we're right on top of this drainage system. And the one thing that I think they might have a den in the drainage system, and I mean the drop off from where I am here is probably 6 meters, maybe even a bit more. So if they do have a den inside this very thick little drainage system, it's going to be near impossible for us to get a vehicle in, but still worthwhile knowing where it is. So every night we get a lot of sort of cackling and whining and stuff, and we can hear it, and it's coming from this general area. So that's why Brian and I are checking very carefully all these spots. Every large termite mound we've checked about 4. So far we've only found porcupine activity at them and one with aardvark activity, but no hyena activity yet. So unfortunately, because we're in this myriad of drainage systems, sometimes our signal's a little bit bad. So when we move now, we're going to send you back to James to see what he might have found on Arathusa, and we're going to keep checking very carefully through this drainage system.
Hello everyone. Leo Smith, Brent Leo Smith that is, and his instincts seem to have come up trumps again. I'm sure there is a hyena. I'm not sure if he actually found the hyena den while you were there with him, but I think he's pretty correct about it being in that area where he is. Right, we're approaching. It's still a guess. I think he is correct. We went walking in there the other day while we were looking for Karula, and we found 8 hyenas lying in and around the drainage lines there. So I think he's probably about right.
Yeah, we're on the same plan. Not people in North here, looks like this. Last maybe.
Stop here.
Well, stop here.
I'm just going to get an update here from Arathusa.
Magic very short turtle.
Morning stations, Arathusa. Any update for the morning? Not sure if anyone can hear me. Either that or they're not talking to me.
There's Slovo at Big Dam.
I don't think there's anything major going on here. We'll head across to the waterhole. Looks like I'm on a telephone, doesn't it? I don't think there's too much going on here. Sean, you copy, Sean? I don't know how that works. Okay, copy, thanks. We just had reports of an audio from the damn camera early this morning. Just wondering if anybody found anything. Okay, copy, thanks. Okay, so no lions here. They heard definitely lions coming from the same area that we did. I don't know how on earth. You know, maybe the atmospheric conditions this morning were such that the Birmingham boys calling, they haven't been found, but they're in, I think it was them, calling sort of, there's a corner that Juma sits there, and Arathusa sits here, and there's a corner here that, you know, we can't go into, and there seemed to be a lot of calling from there, and I suspect because of the probably slightly lower barometric pressure, perhaps that sound was traveling a lot further than it was normally, because there are no tracks around here, there are no tracks around Juma, but both dam cameras were picking up lions calling. So that's fascinating to me. I think that's what it is. I think we all thought that they were a lot closer than they were, and because the pressure was that much lower, and perhaps the sound therefore traveled that much further, and probably also some moisture in the air, which would allow the sound to travel that much further. So I'm afraid it doesn't look like there are going to be any lions around this morning. Anyway, we'll have a little drive around here and see what we can find. The radio, of course, is used by some like a free cell phone service, which it isn't. Now, we have got a very, very important question from possibly a new viewer, or maybe just a viewer who doesn't normally talk to us, Jane, in Oskaloosa, Iowa. Oskaloosa sounds like a fascinating place to live, Jane. Jane, you've heard me talk about lion coalitions and lion prides, and you want to know the difference. It's a very important difference. Now, again, I've said this before, but I shall say it again. The Lion King has given the impression to people that, and many storybooks have, that a lion pride consists of a kind of family of females and babies and then one male that lives in the pride. That's not what the case is. The lion pride is the females, often related, and their youngsters. That is what the pride consists of. And then the coalition of males will be a separate coalition of males that dominate 1 to say 3 or 4 prides, depending on their, you know how big they are and how many other males there are and how big the coalition is. So if it's one male lion on his own, he might dominate an area with only one pride in it. If it's 2 or 3, they might dominate an area with 2 prides. So that's the difference. The coalition of males, the males are not actually part of the pride at all. Hop along, there's a road here called Magic Willie. Astonishing name, but I did hear reports of some elephants there earlier. So let's go and see if Magic Willie has any elephants on it. I'm not sure the origins of the word, the road, Magic Willie. I don't think we do want to know, thank you, Andrew. A few elephants around the place here. We had a lovely sighting of that lapwing, the Senegal lapwing, and we were discussing their nesting bit. Sorry, look, you see it, Andrew? It's a little rat, a little rodent, was running next to the car. You so seldom see them here. We see them in our pantry all the time, but not here. It's not a rat, everybody. It's not a standard issue ratus bubonic plague carrier. It's a little bushveld gerbil or something like that. Very sweet little rodent. I suppose you might describe it as being looking a little like a hamster. Oh, he's gone away. Anyway, if any of you are desperate to find one, we can probably catch one in the muesli box when we get home. So back on the lapwings, X-Ranger, you want to know if there's some way that they deter predators from their nests to attract them away. Absolutely, X-Ranger, there certainly are. Oh dear, no, oh no. Oh dear. Oh dear. X-Ranger, let me just take a moment. Yes, there are ways that lapwings move their predators from their nests. They often, the blacksmith lapwing is known to dive bomb anybody that comes near its nest. I certainly remember as a child being terrified by dive bombing lapwings. Then what they will also do is open their wings out and make a big noise, and what that does is moves the predator's attention away from possibly the nest, and they'll then look at the birds, and then they'll call from different places away. So they do make big efforts to draw potential predators away from the nest. Well, find something else. Something else to show you. Right, let's go to Brent and see what he's doing. Marianne, you say putting dung on the dashboard seems to work. Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some elephant dung on the dashboard. Perhaps that will solve the problem. Let's go across to Brent and see what he can find.
So we're continuing to scour this area. Unfortunately, no luck yet. It's quite a strange little... Oh, let me turn that down. Strange little copse of trees happening here, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. There we go. Almost looks like, I think it is a torchwood. What I think has happened here is it's fallen down in soft soil during the rain, but all the little ones around here are growing from seed. But I think almost looks like there was a really big one right here, and it's fallen down in different pieces. It'd be really fascinating to see if the root structure is still connected, but it almost looks like they're all individual trees popping up everywhere. But I actually think it's one big tree that's fallen down quite a long time ago, and the trees have sort of become individual. And the other common name for a torchwood, the green thorn, really nice and obvious here how green the thorns are when they're young and fresh. They're still quite bendable, not hard and sharp yet like older thorns. Oh, look at this. You can see there's some growths on the leaves, and when you see funny things like that, it's generally caused by an insect stinging to try and make a egg casing for the youngsters or their eggs. And it's very difficult to guess which insect that is, but it's quite common on this particular tree and doesn't seem to be so common on the one next to it. So really interesting stuff. And that's the wonderful thing about the walking safari. You look at things in so much more detail. But we're going to move on in search of our hyenas. So even if we just see a termite mound like this through the bush, we go check. Not all of them have holes in them, but it's always worth checking all of them. I'm really looking forward to marula season, which should be coming quite soon. I have lots of elephants, and last marula season the staff from Juma kindly gave us a couple of liters of marula beer that they'd brewed themselves. And that's caused that massive sort of bulge in the tree. Now those spots, there's a thing called a wood rose that I know is sold all around the world, and it's sort of a very pretty structure in the wood. Yes, it's definitely an old beehive. You can see the wax up at the top there. There we go. An old beehive, not in use at the moment. But I'm sure something else is living in there now. So the garbage producing causes it is mistletoe. Lots of other stuff move in afterwards, birds, lizards, bees. So we've got a few different types of bees here. What you often call in Europe and in America, you call it the African killer bee, and that's our normal honeybee here. And then we've got quite a few different types of stingless bees, flightless bees, called mapani bees or sweat bees. And they, when it gets really hot, they like to buzz around your eyes and your forehead. They drink your sweat and they get all the water out of your eyes. And sorry guys, it seems that we're having some gremlins, so we're going to see what Jack, hopefully his sixth strength is a bit better than ours.
Hello everyone. We're going to mute us not because of any other reason than the fact that the stream is bad. So when it gets better, we're looking for some elephants. We will talk to you. Hi everybody, sorry about that, but what a treat this is. That is a tiny, tiny baby elephant. I don't think more than a few days old, if that. I'm going to be very sensitive for two reasons by not going any closer at this stage. Firstly, I'm not convinced the car will start, and secondly, because she's so little, the mother will obviously be very protective of her. or him. I can't see whether that's a little her or a little him. But look, trying to suckle desperately. You can see a paler colour than the others, and I'm sure that's the result of the skin having not quite sort of got used to the outside atmosphere yet. I think that is no more than a few days old. So sweet. Oh, look. How she doesn't stand on it, I just cannot understand. Oh, look, it's got a little step to go down. What a treat. You can actually see a little bit of the umbilical attachment there on the little baby as well. So it's just her and two sort of young retainers and the baby. So the two young retainers here, I'm using the term retainer, it's not an official term at all. Oh, there's another big cow coming through there. So it is a little herd, and that birth would have been a great celebratory affair for this herd of elephants. I'm going to try and sneak a little bit forward. Sneak, of course, is something that Rusty is not very good at. Hear that, Andrew? Completely easy start. You will notice that I have placed, on Marianne's recommendation, some dung on the front of the car in the hopes that perhaps that will stop any further troubles. Slowly forward here. They are browsing through some pretty dense woodland. The youngster and her mother went in through there. Just melted into the bush. You see them there, Andrew?
Negative.
That's alright. We're definitely not going to go chasing them through there. There we go. I think they're actually just in front of us here. There. Okay. Okay, it's just in front of us. Still pink. Still pink. Okay, she seems quite relaxed, so I'm going to turn the engine off. Oh, look at the little pink thing.
Johnny, you can take it stand by one. Dragon is making his way.
Okay, there are a few fairly large elephants coming to the side of us here. Hello, thank you for your understanding. Cool. That's a young bull, and I mean he could have, he wasn't really left with a choice. You could see him trying to decide whether he wanted to come past us or try and bash his way through the bush. And he thankfully, and I mean it's marvelous to have this kind of interaction with an elephant. He decided that we weren't enough of a threat for him to worry, and he walked within. Well, I mean, he basically brushed against the front of the car in a completely unthreatened fashion. He didn't shake his head. He didn't display any kind of aggression. So nice that we've managed to develop this kind of trust with some of the animals. That's not to say that my heart rate isn't at roughly 280 beats per minute at the moment. This is a tremendous special sighting. And the little one is still in there. There you can see it. There's a little pink around the ears and pink around the side. Very unsure on his little feet. And as many of you are pointing out that you've never seen such a tiny elephant, I can't remember ever seeing such a tiny elephant myself. I mean, that's a few days old, unless you've seen it just being born. Yeah, you wouldn't have seen one any smaller than that. Andrew, have you seen one smaller?
No ways. That's
Smallest. Let's try and roll forward. There we go. There's our friend the young bull who came past us very kindly. And we're just going to stop here. It won't be the best view, but we'll just stop and see where they go. We're obviously not going to go charging in here after them. And the mother will be very wary of any kind of movement around that little baby. See the long hairs on the end of her tail. Oh, look, and there's a sibling or cousin just going to say hello. Look at that. Oh, that's so sweet. And that sibling or cousin will be very respectful to the mother, because the mother will be extremely defensive of the youngster. I wonder if that isn't a sibling, given how close it is to the adult. So that's our little bull friend who came close to us. We'll just move a little bit forward. Rusty seems to be starting for now. Got him, Andrew. Very reticent to turn off Rusty's engine right now. Good. So I'm always in two minds about the engine, because you don't want to turn. Oh, look at that. They'll all be very protective over the little one. This old cow, who's the mother, has very clearly got a broken tusk on her right. Her right tusk is broken. So I think she's quite an experienced old cow. I don't mean old cow in a derogatory sense at all. Look at that. That is just spectacular. Oh, wow. This is just unbelievable. There's definitely still bits of umbilical cord stuck to the little one. And as Margaret says, It looks like Mummy's taking baby for a stroll, especially having seen how the little one walks. She's absolutely doing that. Unfortunately, a baby elephant must get up very quickly, and learning to use their legs is not an easy thing. But they've got to be pretty coordinated. They're vulnerable at that age. And they have to walk. Elephants need to eat so much, and that they need to move a huge distance almost from day one, because the whole herd, their mother especially, in order to maintain the nutrition that she has to have to produce the milk, must move big distances, especially this time of year when there's no grass around and there are only leaves, and so they do need to move quite big distances. I'm just going to let them go a little bit forward. You saw there, she's totally relaxed with us, but she did come through and she gave us a look. She turned her head like this and looked, opened her ears out slightly as if to say, look, I'm okay with this, but don't push it. And what we don't want to do is then break that trust. And because it's so thick and she can't really see what's happening, I'm just going to let them move forward. I think it does open out a little bit through there, and then we'll follow on through. There is another one coming through here. Another young bull. Gorgeous light at the moment. If you have perhaps just joined us, you will notice that there is a pile of dung on the dashboard. That is not to disguise our smell, and possibly didn't attract the bull that came so close. Thank you, Georgianne, for that suggestion. You want to know what it smells like, or does it smell? It's actually very, very pleasant. There's a kind of wafting sweet scent that is blowing over the vehicle, much more pleasant than any of the smells Rusty produces on her own, so I think it might become something of a permanent feature. It was put there because Rusty's struggling to start at the moment, and when I did a little dung demonstration earlier with some zebra and buffalo dung, Rusty then started to move. So I'm hoping that will be a lucky charm. We haven't had any trouble since putting the dung on the bonnet there. It's actually a very pleasant smell indeed. Elephant dung is not unpleasant. Let's move slowly down the road here. Now I'm not sure if you can feel any of the sighting from where you're sitting. It's very, very calm and quiet. And then from Ashley, you have noticed, of course, these elephants are not the same as another elephant that we get in Africa called the forest elephant. Very similar, but these ones are bigger, of course. Oh, sorry. Does that mean 5 minutes, Andrew? Okay. Andrew's playing charades with me. He's telling me that we will have to change the battery in 5 minutes, but that's okay. I'll just quickly get through your question, Ashley, which is a good one. So you want to know what the morphological, which means body type, sort of, and physiological differences between a forest elephant and a savanna elephant are. I'm just going to sneak carefully around the corner here. I don't know where the baby is. Ashley, I will get there. It is right there. Surrounding it, looking after it. I'm just going to switch off quietly here. Ashley, the difference is a forest elephant is smaller than these, so a big bull would probably be about the size of, say, that bull that's in That bull that's in picture now is about the size of, no, you know what, a big bull will be the size of that cow. The size of the mother cow.
Thought that was us, James.
I thought that was us too, Andrew. I must confess, I'm not sure that I can depress the clutch at this stage. Let me tell you what happened there before I upchuck my coffee from this morning. I feel like I've just been sent to the headmaster's office. You know, that kind of surge of adrenaline you get where you feel like you've done something really bad. Right, we're okay. What happened there was that the cow, the mother, got irritated with this bull who was hanging around the baby. And that sound, I mean, it's deafening. It really is absolutely deafening. And she showed no reaction to the vehicle at all. She wasn't worried about us in the slightest. She's clearly a little bit irritated, so we'll just leave them be, I think, from now. And so the bull came charging towards us, well, simply because he had nowhere else to go, really, and then he disappeared around the corner. He's standing here, totally relaxed. None of them have reacted to us in the slightest, which is just wonderful. So, sorry to disturb your question there, Ashley, but well, things escalated slightly. So, forest elephant, smaller, basically, eats more leaves. There are many scientists that will tell you that the forest elephant is... Sorry, I'm really going to struggle to get my thoughts in order here. So I've just noticed something else interesting there. So let's just quickly finish the forest elephant discussion. The forest elephant is smaller, it eats more leaves because it lives in forests, obviously, and there are lots of people that actually think it isn't a separate species, and it's just a kind of slightly different animal that lives in a slightly different habitat. I suspect that they could interbreed. Can you get on to, Andrew, in between this one's legs? Now this is a young bull. Now cows are the ones that eventually chase the young bulls out of the herd. And it happens when they hit puberty and they go into their first must. Now he is starting, he's got a lot of moisture between his back legs. I've just seen that now. He might be going into his first must, and that will make him, she will be offended by him because he'll start to become a bit more rambunctious and a little bit more kind of pushy, and she will not tolerate that around her little baby. And I suspect that's why she reacted so badly to this chap being so close to her youngster. It had nothing to do with us at all. It was completely relaxed around us. Had everything to do with the fact that this bull irritated her in some way. Now, and the scream, that deafening scream, which you probably have heard on films like Jurassic Park, they used elephant noises a lot when they... as the sort of basis for many of those dinosaur calls. That scream that you heard, primal scream, came from this bull, not from the cow who was chasing him. Andrew, they're coming back across the road, the little one. There's the mother. She's crossing to and fro. Look at that. So Gretchen and Judy and many others, as you have correctly pointed out, this is a wonderful birthday surprise for me. Just very special to see indeed. Quite interesting above us. There's a battalion. I'm not going to ask Andrew to try and catch them unless they come very close. There's a tawny eagle and a battalion flying above us. Now those two birds are known to be carrion eaters, scavengers, and I'm just wondering if maybe there isn't an afterbirth around from that baby elephant. They will definitely go off and try and eat an afterbirth if they can find it. Excellent nutrition for an animal. Phew! Andrew, in one word, if you were to describe how that made you feel, what would it be?
Terrified.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up for me too. But just so wonderful that the cow didn't react to us at all. Nor did he when he was chased towards us. Okay, we're going to drive down through there and around out of the... We're going to go out of the sighting now. I don't want to push her, as I've said. She is going down into a drainage line towards some pretty thick bush, so I think we'll leave her alone and we'll carry on out. What an epic elephant sighting that was. Couple of, I'm afraid, radio communications breakups. So if I don't get your question right or your name, please do not be insulted. I'm not being rude. I can be rude sometimes, but I'm not being rude in this particular instance. Pat, I think you wanted to know about the baby there being able to reach the teats for suckling. She can. She can definitely reach up. We did see them reaching up, and she can just reach. And the mother will be, although she doesn't look like it, she'll be completely cognizant of that baby's attempts to suckle, and she'll be very careful that the baby can suckle. And when we watched them just before you came, or just before I started talking to you, I think you could see the elephants, but obviously I couldn't speak with you at the time. Yeah, they're going into the thickish bush there, so I'm not going to follow them down there. We could see that she just kind of leant over slightly so that the baby could reach the nipples, and they will do that. They can reach, and the mother will make sure. They don't look like they're paying a huge amount of attention to the baby, but they are so aware of where those youngsters are. They never get stood on, they never get harmed by anyone else in the herd, and the mothers are completely aware of where they are and what they're doing. So I think you'll find that they're completely aware of whether they're eating or not eating. Andrew, I don't think we're actually on a road here. Do you?
I think we're on
You think we are?
hay dump site.
I think we're at a hay dump site. Yeah. So we're actually in an area where they seem to dump some of the old thatch. This is pretty good fertilizer for the bush, although it looks a little unsightly, I'm afraid. But it's very good for the bush. Nice fertilizer. Forms a nice mulch. Always like that word, Andrew. Mulch. And we saw there the mother chasing the young bull, and he got very upset. And Ashley, you want to know, what do they do if there's some bullying in the herd? They do exactly what they just did there. There is sometimes bullying, especially amongst the younger bulls. They need to try and figure out what's going on in their lives, and just like with human beings, they'll test themselves against each other, against youngsters. If there is any bullying, it is not tolerated. The cows do not tolerate bullying in the herd, and they will eventually chase any bullying bulls away from the herd. And that's basically why a lot of the bulls go off on their own eventually around age 17. It's because the cows have had enough of them and their bullying ways. So they've gone off melting in there, and we're going to carry on this way. Whew. What a sighting. Just keep an eye on the Juma, not the Juma. I I think just keep watching the Arethusa Dam camera. I think they may well end up down there at some stage having a drink. And thank you, Penelope, for that. You say that you think that sighting added 10 years to my age. Well, maybe I could concede to it being 33 this year. What do you think, Andy? Yeah. Right, let's see what else Arethusa has to offer us. Hopefully something a little less heart attack inducing. Talking a little bit about the compost or mulch qualities of that thatch. As Heidi has pointed out, any dung would be considered mulch or compost too. Absolutely it would. And perhaps Rusty's a little more organic than we thought she was, and that's why she's functioning with a bit of mulch on the front of her. So let's see what else Arethusa has to offer us. Very nice elephants. There are no lions here as far as we're aware. Nothing in the way of a leopard either. But this is kind of the edge of Kwatile's and Shadow's territories. And Karula was also, Karula wasn't seen around here. Kwatile has been seen around here, so perhaps she might pop out. We still think Shadow and Tingana are mating on Hoffman's, which is where Brent was standing. They went south from where he saw them earlier their tracks earlier this morning. There don't seem to be a great deal of predators around, and that's not a problem, especially for that young elephant. I think this is a very good suggestion from a number of you who think that Rusty's name should perhaps be Dungy. Yes, that's pretty much, I think that's right up there with the standard of Rusty's general behaviour. Dungy is probably a good idea. Brent Leo Smith is continuing on his merry size 12s towards the Gari water or Juma waterhole. Let's go and catch up with him and see what he's found, and I will continue along the road in Arethusa.
So we've moved areas. Unfortunately, where we were looking for that hyena den, the signal was too bad in those very deep drainage lines. We did have audio of hyenas cackling maniacally, but it is in an area where we can't get any signal, as well as the fact we can't get a vehicle in there. It's basically in the corner of 5 drainage lines. So we've decided we've moved a little bit closer to camp, and we're walking down toward the waterhole. We're going to try to see if we can get a much closer at those deep catfish. And while we go, we'll keep looking for any other interesting things as we walk. And I had heard about Rusty, our new vehicle, and I have a slight suspicion that the birthday boy received more oil than any other Land Rover. Of Land Rovers drinking oil. So we've just spotted a male giraffe at the same time he spotted us. And I'm sure it's one of that big group we saw on the quarantine clearings. So we're going to walk very, very slowly in a non-predatory fashion to try and get to this dead marula tree here. So very important, like in a vehicle when you're walking an animal, is not to walk directly at them. You want to try to take a sort of slight angle, and you're just meandering through the bush. You're not trying to eat them, and this normally means we can get a little bit closer than we would if we walked straight at them. We're just going to go bush. I think this is going to be a better way closer to these giraffe. And you notice I want them to know I'm here. Oh, there's a couple more. We're going to stop and have a look now. Yeah, there he is, one of the males. And he's quite aware we're here, but not too perturbed. They are one of the nicer animals to walk. Oh, he's decided he's going to move along, and I'm quite sure the rest of that group of 8 or 9 we saw bright and early this morning are in amongst these trees here. And I think what he's looking at when he looks that way is the other giraffe. Very, very wonderful creatures. And so nice to see that interaction this morning. So we're going to try reposition, and while we do that, we're going to head back to the birthday boy.
Hello everyone. The size 12s walking around the Juma Dam, I'm afraid, are struggling a little with the signal. Brent will try and find that giraffe again, and then we'll go back to him. Lovely watching giraffe on foot, I always find. We have not seen anything further, fear not. We did have a brief hiatus from the engine in Rusty, which was a bit disconcerting, but she seems to be back online now. I've gone the wrong way. I need to go the other way. I always do this very junction. The next road to the right that I want. I'm just going to stop, park next to this lovely tree, which is unfortunately finished its flowers. Now this is called a tree wisteria, or Bolusanthus speciosus. Try and say that after you've woken up after a heavy night. Bolusanthus speciosus. Say it, Andrew? Yeah, exactly. And it has beautiful purple flowers, and like so many of the flowers out here, when the flowers come, they're stunning, but they only last for a maximum of a week. And I'm hoping, there are a few gardenias around here, and I've said this before, my favorite flower, beautiful smelling flower. None of them are flowered yet, but they last 2 or 3 days, and then they're gone again for another year. And that seems to be the case with many of the kind of beautiful flowers around here. Just keep the revs up a bit. There we go. We're out. Okay, Brenty's a bit closer. Let's go back to him. I'll see you just now.
So it seems to be a wonderful day full of giraffes, and I was talking about non-predatory behavior, and now the fact that I'm sitting down here, he's completely relaxed. There's some others behind him, and he's just keeping a curious eye upon us. And he's more interested in the female off to the left that he's been chasing all morning. And so he's moving back towards the female. So nice to just sit down in the bush, take in all the sights, the smells, the sounds. Quite a lot of different birds calling. I think the most prominent.
Hello everyone. Sorry about that. That is a dodgy signal area where Brent is, unfortunately. And just such fun to be with a giraffe on foot. Anyway, he will continue to try around there, and if he gets lucky, sorry, I've just got to show you something else here, because I've probably shown you this a few times, but this is the best example of it that I've ever seen. Oh, sorry, that's not good. I have to get outside. This, Andrew, is a
Tree.
round-leafed teak. Thank you. Yes, I think most people could see it was a tree. But it's not one tree. It is one tree. I'm now going to walk around this one tree. Isn't that amazing? That's one plant. And these, I've only noticed it this year, since I got to Juma. I've seen hundreds and thousands of these round-leaf teaks. They get so mangled by elephants that the rootstock becomes this huge kind of bulbous, unwieldy mass of wood under the ground here. I think if you were to pull this piece of wood out, it would weigh over 5 tons. It's an enormous mass of wood under the ground because it keeps getting cut off, and so it grows and then sticks up a few more sticks, and then they get cut off and it grows a bit more, and it's grown. It's probably 200 years old around here. It's an enormous plant, and yet it looks young because it has to put up these new young shoots that the elephants will eventually destroy, and it'll start again. I think it's absolutely fascinating, and there are lots of them. We see lots of these shoots coming out the ground, and I've started to investigate them far more this year, and they're huge numbers that are much bigger than we think they are, and this one is the biggest one I've seen. I would say probably 3 to 5 tons of wood under the ground here, and I would put this plant at about, I'd say 200 years. Amazing. Roundleaf teak, Pterocarpus angolensis. A bit easier to say than Volusanthus speciosus, not so, Andrew?
That's correct.
Plug myself in. Hope Rusty starts. Come on, you old bag. There we go. Oh, no! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'd love to go across to Brent, but unfortunately he doesn't have any signal at the moment. Ravi in New York, you suggest that perhaps Rusty is a psychological disadvantage to this hunk of junk, as it were, and perhaps that's why she's not working. She's feeling kind of hurt by her name. I'd say that she needs to prove us wrong. That's what I think. Right, let's try once more. Come on, old girl. Just let it rest a bit. So, while we wait for Rusty to come out of her sulk, we have a lovely question from Ellen in Arkansas about the birth of elephants and whether or not there is noise from the mother, and would that attract predators, and do the other elephants stand around and protect it. It's exactly what happens. I don't think the mother makes a huge amount of noise while she's giving birth, depending on, I mean, elephants do make a noise when they're in pain, so if there's a lot of pain perhaps, but the other elephants will all stand around and protect it, and they make a big noise, they make a big fuss of the mother who's giving birth. It's kind of joyful celebration. It's a wonderful thing to read about. Certainly I've never seen it personally, but I've spoken to people who've seen it, and we didn't miss it by much today with that little pink calf. And so all of the elephants will gather around and protect completely the mother and the calf while she's giving birth. So there's definitely a huge amount of protection. There would be noise from the others, but you know, no predator worth his salt or her salt is going to go near the herd of elephants making a noise. Once an elephant gets beyond, say, 3 or 4 years, unless they're in a place like Chobe or Savuti, where there are prides of lions that will specialize in killing elephants, and once in this area, there may be 4 or 5 years, especially in the herd. They're pretty much immune to attacks from predators around here. Alright, well, let's just pretend that everything is okay and start the car. Are you ready, Andrew? There we go. Thank you, Rusty. You old bat. Beautiful birds now, and I spoke a little bit earlier about the air of expectation that covers the early morning, and that atmosphere changes slightly as we go into this time of the day, and different birds calling, batises, the odd chagra going. Now, very tuneful songs, and as we drive along through the tuneful song, what we're going to do is head across to Brent, who is the opposite of tuneful, very skilled in the wild, but not that tuneful. Let's head across to him. He's on quarantine, he's got a nice pack of signal going, so he'll tell you something interesting, and we're heading back towards Djuma now.
So, we've been watching these giraffes eat these bush willows, so I decided, yes, no, I'm not a giraffe. Even the young, fresh leaves are very tanniny, but it's worth seeing why the animals like these things. I definitely am an omnivore, not a herbivore, and I think I prefer vegetables over leaves, or apart from rocket. But so you can see nicely here how the giraffe are going after the very young fresh leaves. Obviously, maybe if I was taller and I could get to the fresh leaves at the top, maybe they taste better than the ones at the bottom. But then we've got a large fruited bush willow here, and that's what those giraffe we've seen been feeding on while we were walking down towards the dam a little earlier. So we decided to try and have a look at this one, and very, very nicely when we just noticed it disappeared down the hole. It's disappearing down the hole. It's digging the hole. There's a dung beetle. Unfortunately, we seem to be having some signal issues, but if Brian moves very, very slowly around this way, you can see the dung beetle's bottom. There we go. You can see the sand coming out. So there's this really fresh pile of wildebeest dung here, and this dung beetle, not all of them roll balls. Some of them, there we go, look at this, Isn't that fascinating? Look at that. Digging the hole. So not all of them roll balls. Some of them will be based around the dung pile. And so it'll try to just take some dung right down that hole to feed the eggs. Where others will roll balls and move it away and then dig a hole and bury it. So, and I mean, if I remember correctly, there's something like 30,000 different types of dung beetles in Africa. And all of them can fly except for one, which is the flightless dung beetle that only occurs in Addo National Park in the Cape. Here it comes again, working like a bulldozer, using its head as a bulldozer to excavate. And this one actually, if we have a closer look when he comes out again, the shape of the head is almost like a bulldozer. And it's just digging, digging, digging. And this is very fresh wildebeest dung. It's actually glistening. And I can see the culprit over Brian's shoulder. We'll have a look in. He's watching us inspect his dung. There he is. It's absolutely incredible. I'm going to see if you guys can hear this by doing something quite strange. I don't think we've ever tried this before. So I apologize for the bumps in the microphone. I've taken my mic out and I can actually, oh, there's the dung beetle. He's got that shovel-shaped head. And I can actually hear him with my ears digging. So I'm going to put my mic there, see if you guys can hear that. Isn't that amazing? So who would have thought? We've never tried this before, because quite often on the bushwalk, because we're on, oh, here he comes. And down it goes again. Isn't that incredible? We've never tried that before, but maybe that's something, because quite often our audio is quite limited to, because this mic is right here. But this is a nice little trick to try. I mean, because I can hear it with my ear, my naked ear quite often. So really, really cool that I was able to share that with you guys, to hear him scratching through the sand, digging and pushing. And this is the amazing thing about being on foot. I mean, the likelihood of us spotting that dung beetle digging right next to a pile of dung is almost zero. It's amazing that. And wow, it has been there he comes again. And if he slows down a little bit, if you get a shot of his head, he does have, his head is shaped almost like a shovel. Look at it. Oh, wildebeest is talking to us. He's moved away, but can you hear him? Boom, behind us. He's actually not calling for us, he's calling for ladies. Boom, boom. But I don't know if you can see this little bit here, Brian. There's a different, oh, let me try to get out of the light. Is it now a dung beetle with a different strategy is already here, and it's actually buried a section of the dung. And so we'll lay the eggs, and it's amazing how such small niches are formed around something as simple as a pile of wildebeest dung. So we've got two very different, unique strategies to utilize this dung. There we go. Up comes the bulldozer. I'm not sure what the proper name for this dung beetle is, but I think we should call him the caterpillar dung beetle. Oh, Brian, he's coming right behind us. He's checking you out. Look, the wildebeest has come to inspect us. Oh, there he goes. He obviously thinks we're up to something, some form of mischief with his dung. I think he's in search of the ladies who have abandoned him. So those who watch the Juma Dam Cam, that wilde is charging towards your camera right now. And what I'm hoping is we're going to stay here for a little bit longer, is that he might have decided he's done enough excavation and take a piece of dung down, but here he comes, bulldozer again. So obviously they do need to dig quite deep. Dung beetle larvae are favored foods of quite a few different animals, and probably the more interesting one that loves dung beetle larvae are honey badgers. And they will actually listen to the larvae feeding under the ground and then dig from there to get the larvae. And you will often find different places where dung beetle larvae have been dug up, and that's the dung beetles that roll the big balls. And you will find where that big ball of dung has been broken up and honey badger tracks everywhere. I can still hear it. It's really, really deep, much deeper than it was. See if we can do this again quickly. It's like spying on a secret world. Here he comes. So I think this is the world's first mic'd up dung beetle. So we're gonna say goodbye. It's been a wonderful but slightly erratic sunrise safari, and you guys were here for the world's ever first mic'd up dung beetle, but we're gonna send you back to James so you can say goodbye on his birthday, and we'll try be nice to him today.
Hello everyone, and almost time for us to say goodbye to you. An enormous thank you to all of you for your well wishes on this, the occasion of my 23rd birthday. Very nice of you to send through so many well wishes, and equally marvellous of those elephants to bless us with such an incredible sighting. Thank you, Andrew, on camera. Thank you for not panicking when we nearly got smashed. And thank you very much, of course, to Brian and Brent for their wonderful singing. Tara and Louise will sing to me later, as will Eugene. We will see you this afternoon at about 4 o'clock our time. Stay safe and happy wherever you are. It will still be my birthday this afternoon, which is a good thing. Bye-bye, and see you later.